up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we're kicking off spooky season. We've got baby. An A24 deep cut coming in today. The 2015 horror film, The Blackcoat's Daughter.
Two girls must battle a mysterious evil force when they get left behind at their boarding school over winter break. Just to note that this podcast was recorded and created during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strikes. Without the labor of the actors that are currently on strike, these movies being covered here on this podcast would not exist. Spoilers are ahead for The Blackcoat's Daughter. We will be spoiling this movie. So spooky season is upon us, and we're over 100 episodes deep now in the podcast. So that puts us in a little bit of a predicament where we've covered all the heavy hitters. We've done some big horror movies twice, actually.
Yeah.
We've revisited certain things. And so for this spooky season, we decided, let's get a little deeper. Let's do things not a lot of people have seen or talked about or watched. And we're kicking off with The Blackcoat's Daughter. How are you feeling about spooky season? Well, I mean, we're an A24 pod. They're renowned for their horror. Yeah. How's life been?
I can't complain. I mean, some of our first episodes, I think 5 and 6, were Hereditary and Midsommar. We didn't wait for spooky season for those.
No.
So if you want to listen to us talk about some traditional spooky season A24 stuff, go back and listen to it. There's plenty there. I am excited genuinely to get into some of these deeper cuts here. I think the other one that we're going to be talking about a couple weeks is In Fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be kind of fun. So just stuff that I've never heard anyone talk about ever, and it's cool. Let's cover everything. It's an A24 pod. So I'm stoked. We are mixing it up with some non-spooky stuff though.
Right.
You guys are going to be covering Dix the musical next week, which is great. And then I guess it's still spooky season for you with this draft we got coming up, because you don't know whether or not some movies are going to make the cut.
I'm very scared, to be honest. Yes, I'm very scared. So it's the whole month of spooky season for me.
Yeah.
We've announced kind of on Twitter and on Instagram as well. If you don't follow us on there, you should do that. That's where we kind of announce our calendar and our plans for the month. So so we're going to be covering Dix the Musical as it kind of comes out nationwide. Of course, a new A24 movie. And then end of the month, like you said, spooky season continues because we should both be very scared of the collaborative draft that we're going to be having. We're going to be having a wonderful guest from across the pond, from different country, which is really exciting, to do a Martin Scorsese collaborative rankings draft. To be honest, I can't even stomach talking about it right now because you and I have been texting about it almost every day for the last week. And that is enough to give me an ulcer. I'm stressing out so much because of what might happen on that show. It's going to be unreal.
I can't wait. I mean, we both have shown each other kind of our watch list, and it's nuts. It's I think I've watched 7 movies now, but I still have 22 I want to watch in the next 20 days. But with him, it's there's stuff that obviously we've both seen, that everyone's seen, Goodfellas and Departed, all that kind of stuff. It's how many of his deep cuts do we want to get into? What is actually going to make the draft? All that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun. We thought musicals was tough. I feel like Scorsese is going to be really, really interesting.
I love how we're just Christopher Nolan's the first one. That's pretty solid, right? Oppenheimer comes out, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Second one, we're musicals. That's fun. Let's have a fun guest on and have a good time and talk about musicals. And then number 3, we're just let's get fucking cutthroat and do the greatest American living director, or maybe ever of all time. So we're going to escalate things and get really, really spooky. So it's a half spooky season around here, half not. But things are really, really fun. Before we talk about Blackcoat's Daughter, A24 housekeeping, we got a new trailer for Priscilla, which just debuted at the New York Film Festival a few days ago. It's gotten pretty good reviews. The new trailer, speaking of spooky season, it's getting dark. It's going there. The trailer is going there. The movie is going there. What did you think of the new Priscilla trailer?
I think it looks great. So many people. No, I mean, there were just a lot of people after that first teaser where it's oh, I can't believe she's covering her. She was only 15 when they got together, and I can't believe we're encouraging this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys just shut up and wait for the trailer, because there's no way
Watch the
Sofia
next one.
Coppola is going to be like, yeah, this was all okay. Like that's
Right.
not what she's going to do. And we saw that in this trailer, like the line reading of like, you're really mature for your age. I'm like, oh God, that's just like, so, or he says that to like the dad, right? Like, oh, she's really mature for her age. I'm like, oh, that's gross, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's just, oh, I think it looks amazing. I think Sofia Coppola is a great director. I'm very excited to see this movie. Elordi,
Yeah.
he looks good as Elvis,
He
like
sounds good as Elvis, to be
he
honest.
sounds really
He sounds
good too. Austin Butler did his thing last year, and we all know how much I love that Elvis movie, but I'm very, very excited for Priscilla.
Same here. I'm very excited for Priscilla. It's definitely one of my most anticipated of the remainder of 2023. I think it's going to be, I think it is a fascinating societal experiment to have Elvis last year be so famed and so core to not only movies and the Academy, but like pop culture as a whole. Like everybody rallied around like the Austin Butler train. Like either Austin Butler looks good or he sounds good or like everything. He's just the it guy. And so then to have Priscilla come out this year, which is like the other side of the story, coming from Priscilla Presley, coming from Sofia Coppola, I think is a really interesting exercise to see what about this movie sticks, what the conversation is going to be around it. Of course, kind of like you mentioned, I think there's going to be a lot of bad takes surrounding the subject matter of this movie, but it seems much more dark, probably authentic, and much more revealing, especially considering what was left out of the Elvis movie last year. So yeah, I think Priscilla looks really good. That comes out in December. We are definitely covering it here on the show. Hopefully it goes nationwide. I don't know, A24, whatever you want to do. Also, if you want to send us screeners, like we're totally open to that.
Please do.
My computer hopefully can handle streaming a movie. I don't know. We'll see. As my computer, breaks down every single week that I do this pod. Okay, Ben. So I took a double shot of espresso like 2 hours ago at 5 p.m. at night, and I'm fired up for this pod about this deep cut horror movie that nobody's seen, nobody talks about, and I was pretty sure was a guest, like or a listener suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't find it. I couldn't find any messages. I couldn't find any mentions, any tweets, any Instagram DMs. I couldn't find any YouTube comments. So it's possible I entirely made this up and was just like, let's just talk about the Blackcoat's Daughter. Maybe I just like picked it out of a lineup. If you suggested this movie, please let me know, because I feel terrible that I missed that you, whoever you are, suggested this movie. But we're going to talk about it regardless. I really want to know your thoughts. I'm really curious to hear what you thought of this film.
If you would have told me about a year and a half ago that The Witch wouldn't be the most boring A24 horror movie you've ever seen, I would be like, no, there's no way that's possible.
The Witch has been dethroned.
Nothing could possibly bore me more than The Witch. Like, you've got to be kidding me. And then I put on The Blackcoat's Daughter, and I was like, what is happening? Like, this is so slow. I don't feel like there's like any payoff. I feel like they were really, really riding the coattails of a blue filter on the screen, and like, let's try to have creepy music. Like, what if we tried to be Trent Reznor? Wouldn't that be kind of cool and make it spooky and stuff? And
that's my favorite score, is like, hey, let's copy Trent Reznor.
Yeah, right. Let's do that. I don't know, man. Like, I didn't have a good time with this movie, and I wanted to, like I said genuinely at the beginning, like, I'm excited to get into some of these deeper cuts, but as this was going on, it's like, maybe there's a reason I've never heard about this movie. Maybe it's just like, you don't need to see it, and I respect people's opinions on it. If you recommended this, like, I'm sorry for my opinion on this. Like, I'm glad that you love this movie. I think that's fantastic. I like Emma Roberts. Like, I like the girl who's like, she's Sabrina, right? On the Netflix show now. Isn't that who the other blonde girl is? Kat?
I have no clue.
I think she is.
Okay.
Like, they're fine. I just, like, this movie just was a complete miss for me. Like,
Kiernan Shipka, is that who you're talking about?
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. Yeah. Kiernan Shipka.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like I said, it was just a complete miss. Nothing worked for me. Um, even I think I got a little bit of like a once, and it's when we see those like three heads lined up in front of the furnace. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, damn, okay, cool. Like you did it, but like
Right.
the rest of the movie, I was like, it just was not captivating to me, unfortunately. I feel really bad because like
Wow.
I wanted to like it. I also thought I was like a guest recommend, and I always want to like take those seriously and really just like try to understand like why someone recommended this, why I haven't seen it yet, all that kind of stuff. But this one just completely missed the mark. I don't think it's worse than The Witch in the sense that like the hype of The Witch, really made it fall flat for me because like so many people love it,
Yeah.
and like so I still think The Witch is like the worst movie because I had no expectations for Blackcoat's Daughter, but like I was probably more bored watching this because like at least we
Wow.
got like Ralph Ineson doing cool like
Yeah.
voice work, you know what I mean? And like Anya Taylor-Joy is cool to watch. Like I was more entertained, but that's a really low fucking bar, you know what I mean, to say the least.
So Kiernan Shipka is in a new movie that's out this year called Totally Killer. So she is the lead woman of another horror film this year. You are a mean person, Ben. You're just mean. You're just
I've been told that so many times.
You're so mean. I was ready to get, this is insane. I was ready to get on this pod and be like, this is sleeper A24 horror movie right here.
I love it.
This is more people who should watch this. Like temper your expectations for sure. Like we're not talking about Midsommar. We're not talking about Hereditary. We're not even talking about like Talk to Me. Like not that level, but like I don't know, if you watch horror movies and like you like A24 and it's spooky season and you're like, how can I mix things up? Like what's something intriguing that I haven't seen? I would not have a problem suggesting this film. I think you're right though. It's slow. The first act is brutally slow. It is tough to follow and get engaged, but I think there's a hard break for me where I was like, ooh, okay, like I'm pretty locked into this now. I'm actually interested on how these characters, Kat, Rose, and Joan, how they all intersect and what we're doing and how things are going to get horrific and scary. I'm always a big fan of movies that have a character with a kind of demented voice saying "Hail Satan." I think that's a big W for this movie for sure.
Okay.
And it has, I wrote this on my Letterboxd review, but it's got the holy trinity of horror film, kind of like action pieces, if you will. So we've got stabbing, we've got beheading, and we've got an exorcist or an exorcism. Yeah. So I feel like that's pretty good. I had an all right time. I wouldn't say this is a great movie by any means, but I don't think it's a bad movie. Like a mean person would say.
Yep. Like a very mean person.
I think it's okay. Like I think it's okay. I think there are a lot of questions at the end that it does not explore that I would have liked answers to, that I would have liked a little bit more clarity or a little bit more linear storytelling to kind of flesh some things out. But I think Emma Roberts gives a pretty good performance, even though she has like the least amount of screen time, it seems like, throughout the film. And at least for me, there was enough to keep me engaged about like, oh, like this girl's like being overtaken by Satan. Like that what's happening? Or like, are we doing like a murder cold case here? Like how are these things intersecting? I thought was really interesting. It is only 93 minutes long. So for you to say that you were so bored, that's tough. Like that is a tough beat for the film for sure.
It's a long 93.
Yeah, and that's hard. That's hard to accomplish for a movie to be like a long 93 minutes.
I feel like I was watching The Irishman. I'll tell you that. It's like, God damn, is this 3 hours?
Bad take. Keep the Scorsese takes to the end of the month, Ben. Save them. God. I am interested though because this movie we have three characters. We have Kat, Rose, and Joan, and essentially Kat and Rose are the two girls that are left over winter break at this all-girls school. Slowly, Kat becomes overtaken or possessed with a demonic spirit or figure or Satan or what have you, and goes to kill essentially the only two kind of women that are working the grounds. She murders them. She then proceeds to kill Rose, and then takes their heads and places them in front of a furnace and has some kind of ritual and says, "Hail Satan," and then kind of like gets shot by a cop in the shoulder, is what I believe. And then we have Joan's story, which is Emma Roberts, and this is kind of part of a different timeline, if you will. This is set, from what I believe, 9 years in the future, 9 years after Rose has died.
Yeah.
I have so many questions to quickly fire off to you. Number one, did the multiple timelines work for you, or was that more confusing than it was worth?
No, I mean, it worked as much as it could. You know, that we don't know that at the beginning. It's not till he pulls out the photo of his daughter.
Yeah,
and it's
kind
just
of like a
then,
twist.
Yeah, then it's like a little bit of an intrigue. Like, oh, okay, cool. Because I think we're led to believe, for the most part, that those are Kat's parents that are finally showing up. You know, it's like, oh yeah, they were.
Yes,
because they were like late showing up to the thing.
Or even Rose's parents that were like supposed to be there on Friday. That's kind of how I took it.
That makes sense too. Yeah. So like these people that are supposed to be there, it's like, okay, that's who they are. And then we see the photo, like, oh shit, okay, hold on. Now with like this is like a whole different timeline.
Yep.
That's interesting. The Emma Roberts, that whole storyline was the most intriguing to me. Just kind of curious like how we end up where we do, you know, knowing the other characters that we're following. So that was the most intriguing part to me.
So Emma Roberts' character Joan, that is Kat. Is that correct? Like that is Kat in the future? Because we get these little like flashes where Joan strangles somebody and takes her license and adopts the name of Joan.
Yeah.
So I guess the way that I read the movie is that Kat does this and goes on this killing spree, has this exorcism, is then somehow released or allowed to continue living or something, and then proceeds to kind of take over these identities and become someone else, because Joan has a shot, like a bullet wound in her shoulder, which is where I thought Kat got shot initially for like the ceremony that she was performing. How did you interpret like the whole interconnectedness of everything in the two timelines?
I interpreted it as like the priest dude gave her the exorcism, and then I feel like we see whatever the devil, Satan, whatever, just outside the door thing, and she's like, don't
very
go,
Donnie Darko, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, don't go, or whatever it is that she says. And then the next shot, it's gone. So I took it's like, okay, that kind of like It Follows, like if that's going to go take over a new body now. So I assume that at some point it ends up in Joan, and then like maybe the memories are kept within the Satan devil thing.
Oh,
so that's why maybe in some of the flashbacks we were seeing stuff, because it could remember what it had done when it was Kat or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Fascinating.
Like maybe that's it, but like you said too, like maybe it is just supposed to be an aged up Kat in 9 years is her. So I have no idea, but that's my takeaway is like it just went and found a new body.
I like your take, because that would be pretty cool if that spirit or embodiment did take like memories with it along with physical traumas. I think that's really interesting. And maybe that kind of tracks a little bit more, because maybe that is what caused Joan to strangle this person and abduct, or like basically take over their identity in the first place, as well as kill Bill and Linda at the very end. And I feel like that checks out a little bit better with the final scene we get of Joan being brought back to that school, breaking in, going to the furnace, and then basically crying about like the weight that she feels now, because she understands what actions were taking place, and like now she is kind of enveloped in this world, in this history of murder. That's really interesting. I like that a lot better. Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's awesome.
She put their heads in the luggage, right? Like that's what she was wheeling around.
Yep.
So okay, yeah, I guess that would track. Then there was taking it back to I don't know why this furnace is like
what makes the furnace so special
to like worship at, but apparently it is.
I guess so. 3.2 on Letterboxd, 75% certified fresh for critics, 51% for audience. I would assume the 51% for the audience is what we just discussed. This like different interpretation of like what these timelines actually mean and how they could interconnect. I noticed some alternate posters on Letterboxd too. I thought this was worth mentioning. A lot of these alternate posters say February as like the title, which I'm really interested in because so early on in the movie, like the first thing we see, and then we get a flashback later on, is her parents supposed to show up like the 24th or something of February.
Yeah.
I personally like that title a lot more. I think it's more ambiguous, and I think it is more indicative of like a time spanning situation, which is what we get. What does the Blackcoat's daughter mean? Like, is this spirit Blackcoat? Is that what we're assuming?
I guess, like, I don't know exactly, but I know that's like the song that plays over the credits is Blackcoat's daughter. That's the first time there's any sort of direct reference to it. So I'm sure there's a smarter person listening who's like, you idiots, it's this, you know, but like,
you dumb fucks.
For me, I was like, I don't know exactly. That maybe if like we read the lyrics to Blackcoat's daughter, it would make sense. But
yeah,
I don't know. February would have been a cool title.
You weren't engaged enough to be like, what do these lyrics mean for this movie I just hated?
Let me try to understand this more. Like, let me spend more time of my life, my short life, talking about Blackcoat's daughter, you know?
I think this is definitely one of those times one of these rare times where I feel like if you make a couple narrative choices and changes to the 93 minutes that we do get, or you add on like 7 to 9 minutes of more background, more detail, more understanding of how this spirit works, more screen time for that, like really just trying to gel some more things together. I think this is a much more cohesive and strong movie narratively, visually. Like, I think there were just a few puzzle pieces that didn't quite connect, like strings that just didn't quite reach to the other end for what we did end up getting. Let's do true cinema. Are you ready to go through the scenes?
Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. I know you've been looking forward to this as much as possible. The intro with Rose, we kind of figure out who Rose is. I wrote down smoking and pregnant. This is kind of like a little sidebar story that we end up getting where she thinks she's pregnant from her boyfriend and then ends up not being pregnant. And then later on in the movie, she finally gets her period and then leaves the bathroom only to be fucking murdered. So I can only imagine the elation to the devastation was a pretty vast crevice there.
What an emotional roller coaster that must have been. Like, oh my God, my life isn't over. I don't have a baby, like all that stuff. And then just like walk out of the bathroom and literally your life is over now.
Done. Literally, physically. Next one is the intro to Joan. I did like these name cards. I don't really know if they were placed at the right moments in time. I just felt like they were kind of a cool little editing trick of the movie. I don't think they like worked for me, like quote unquote worked or did anything. The Joan intro, escape from psychiatric hospital. Like, what is this that we see? Because she's got a big bracelet on initially that is like not supposed to come off. What did you take that as?
I think by the end, I took that as like maybe she was the next person to be taken over by this like devil thing. And then whatever actions it was doing led her to be put into the psychiatric hospital, you know, that kind of a thing. So I don't know exactly, but I thought it was an interesting intro to this character. And then just like immediately meeting the parents, you know, it's like, oh, okay. He's like, also Lauren Holly from Dumb and Dumber, shout out. I haven't seen her in a long time. So good job being the mom.
Huge win. I agree with your reading of the film more, but to juxtapose that and try to back up my own thought process here, I took that as that Kat was then, after her exorcism, was then put away somewhere for essentially for 9 years, right? And somehow the Blackcoat or Satan or whatever we're calling it found its way back, because I think there was that kind of push and pull of like, don't go, I need you, this is my life now, this is my energy, and so maybe it came back and allowed her the ability to escape. So I think that could be read as that as well. Again, like I'm sure listeners are probably just like, you moron, like that's not even close to what it's trying to say. But I said it initially, and I feel like I have to back it up, or else I'm dumb. So, and
if you know, if you have a reading on this, like let us know. Tell us we're wrong. Please. Like, please, I won't dislike this so much if I understand it better. So
Yeah.
if you get it, please let us know.
Absolutely. I honestly, it would be fun to talk to somebody, either the director, like someone that wrote the film, or somebody even that worked on the film about like more. Like I just want, I truthfully like kind of want to be enveloped in this world a little bit longer, just so I can really suss out like what we're trying to do and where we're going. Next bullet point: Rose sees Kat worshiping at the furnace. This is kind of the first time that we get any sense of, okay, this is a horror movie. Things are going to get out of hand. Things are going to get pretty scary. I liked the beat. I thought it worked well, and I thought it came too late, but at a good time where it wasn't any later in the film and kept us waiting any longer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And maybe I wanted more of that, and then we just got into what we got into, and so it's just like, all right, I don't know. You had me for a second.
Guess we're doing this now. Kat telling Rose her parents are dead. This is one of the most intriguing scenes to me because it kind of tells us that Kat is being overtaken already, even though her voice is not becoming distorted. And like, it's essentially this premonition from the satanic figure through Kat of like, your parents are gonna die.
Yeah.
How did that play? So, because this is where it gets a little confusing to me. It's because Rose's parents are technically Bill and Linda in the other timeline, quote unquote, with Emma Roberts' character, right? So like, how does this Kat character, why do they say, Rose, your parents are dead? Is that just like a fake out? Is that just like, let me fucking scare you so I can kill you? Or like, is that a reading of like, hey, in 9 years, I'm going to kill your parents?
I took it more as that second thing, it's like they're gone. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I read it. It just like, I don't know that it worked for me either way.
See what I mean? That it could be, that is definitely a little divisive there. Next one on the list, Joan and Bill have dinner and the Rose picture. This is like kind of that very first twist of like, our daughter died 9 years ago. Let me show you a picture of her. And bam, it ends up being Rose. It really worked for me. I was like, oh fuck, like we're tying things together now. This is fascinating. I'm really curious how we're going to connect these strings. And I will say, the actor who plays Bill is also in Oppenheimer, and I knew I recognized him from somewhere. Shout out. Love to see Oppenheimer people getting work.
Do you not like they need it?
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
So what you're saying is he's like
more. I need to see it again, is my take.
I feel like I'm excited for every movie we watch that has a middle-aged white guy. He's like, hey, guess what? He was in Oppenheimer. It's like, oh, really? Like with everyone else in Hollywood, he showed up in Oppenheimer. That's awesome.
That's going to be the take for the next 5 years. It's like, oh, that white guy was in Oppenheimer. That white guy was in Oppenheimer.
That's the cheat code now for the 9 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
It is.
It used to be the MCU, and now it's Oppenheimer.
Now it's Oppenheimer.
Yep, everybody was an Oppenheimer.
We've changed the culture. We've done what Black Adam was supposed to do, but we've done it with Oppenheimer.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you like the diner scene to the Rose picture? Did that work for you at all?
Yeah, that totally worked for me. That's, I think, when I was the most intrigued was seeing that, because that's the first time we really understand that the timelines aren't in the same time, Right. And so we've had Kat telling Rose that her parents are dead, and then we realize like, oh wait, these are Rose's parents. Like, okay, hold on. So what's happening here? So it was the most intriguing part to me, but I just don't know that we ever got that again. And until the shock of like the 3 heads just like sitting on the floor, is like, oh, that's a cool shot.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool shot. Okay, Kat vomits at dinner. This is where we really get the turn of like she's being possessed. She screams at these 2 women who are working there. Incredibly nice women, by the way. Like, they did not deserve this stabbing. They didn't deserve a death that they did. Unless you disagree, I don't know. You like to see a little rampage?
No, I don't know that they deserved it. They definitely didn't deserve to be beheaded. That's for sure.
Yeah, one step too far on the beheading.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where Kat yells, "Get your hands off me, cunt," which pretty solid, to be honest with you. Like, always love a good like line reading of screaming and calling people names, which is really fun. That was a little out of left field, and then ringing phone, and this is again where we hear this distorted voice tell Kat, kill all the cunts, which again, just it felt like the very like horror version of Succession to me, where it was just like, we got to take these people down, and we're just gonna call them cunts, which I don't mind, honestly. Brought a little juice to the movie.
What if they killed people in Succession?
Oh my God.
What kind of, I mean,
Succession, but let's murder people.
Yeah, like let's take people out. Like they would have killed what's his name, right? The Skarsgård. They've just been like, well, let's just kill him, then we can close the deal. Like then he has to back out of the deal if he's dead.
In addition to being not only the most powerful and wealthy family in America, you're telling me that the Roys also know how to cover up murder.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
I like it.
For all we know, that could be true. That could be real.
Yeah, there's definitely that has happened, I think, without a doubt.
100%. They just, they just get their Hugos. They get the dogs of the world to take care of business for them, honestly. Okay, we get the stabbings, of course. There is a moment in this that I really did appreciate. We get this big 180-degree camera turn that follows kind of the father around to the back of the house for him to discover these killings. I'm just going to roll through these real fast, and then we can kind of maybe like break them down anymore if we need to. So the cop finds Kat. We kind of mentioned this, the 3 heads in front of the furnace. And then we get the big Hail Satan. Huge vibe for this movie for sure. This connects to an earlier flashback that we get with Joan, where we see a cop shoot her as far as we're aware.
Yeah.
And Joan does have that shoulder scar. So I think that's kind of like the interlocking moment here. Joan then murders Bill and Linda, just fucking slices Bill's neck raw right there. My guy did not deserve that. If anything, sure, he was being a creep. No doubt about that. But I mean, we don't need to slice our necks. Just learn your boundaries. Keep your distance.
Exactly.
Did Bill and Linda deserve to die?
No, but just don't pick up hitchhikers also. Like, take that lesson from this movie. Like, just in case they're possessed by the devil and they have a steak knife in their pocket that they got from the diner, like, don't pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah, well, I've always lived my life by that ideal of, like, let's not pick up hitchhikers, but I've never folded into the mix, like, they might be possessed by Satan, so let's just keep our distance. That's really wise.
Can never be too safe.
You talk about life pro tips on Reddit, we got to put that in there.
There it is.
Watch out for people possessed by Satan. Then we get the exorcism, then we get that final shot of Joan crying kind of in the snow. What's your true cinema moment? You want to rehash any of these? Do you have any thoughts to add to any of these moments?
I like the cop showing up. Again, like I like that shot of the 3 heads at the furnace. But the thing I like about that scene is we're hearing everything through Kat's interpretation as like the devil. Yeah. Like the cop's voice is distorted.
Really cool.
And I thought that was just like really well done, just to show how possessed she was. It's like she can't even hear normally anymore. Like she is so possessed and taken over by this being. So I thought that was really well done. Quick question before you get to yours. Did you get any Midsommar ending vibes with this final shot of Joan? Because like she cries and cries and cries, then suddenly it's just like straight face, cut to black.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so initially. I think I think that the level just isn't quite there for me to be that engaged, to be like, oh my God, like maybe she's possessed. Like, wonder how long she's going to be possessed for now. Like, I guess I just didn't have enough of a vested interest to care about like what comes next, what happens the next day, right? Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of in your boat for that, but I respect it. Like I do think the intent or like the intention itself was productive to be like, let's not overshare, let's not over visualize, let's try to put some of the pieces together in our minds of like what could happen.
Yeah,
I respect that. I think it's pretty good. Was like what made Kat possessed? That's my big question. How did we get to the initial possession? Did it come from someone else? Like, does Kat have memories and things as well? Like, how does it work? I want to know how Satan wins in this movie.
Yep, me too. I have no idea. Like, yeah, I have no clue.
Oh, I got no idea. my true cinema moment is actually going to be when Joan murders Bill and Linda. I think it's just fucking ice cold, really raw stuff from Emma Roberts, who has really become a scream queen, quite honestly, through American Horror Story.
Literally in the TV show, Scream Queens, right?
There we go. Look at us. Look at me. So yeah, I think that was a good moment. And especially for this movie trying to delve into like this is a horror movie. That was much needed. Something like that, just cold as ice. Let me just slit some people's throats, cut off their heads, and put them in a suitcase. That's pretty dark shit. And like, put on top of that, like you're possessed by Satan. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. Like, I think it's good for a horror movie to do that. And this movie potentially needed more moments like that were just a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more raw horror, a little bit wilder. Maybe take it off campus a little bit. Maybe get a little more vast in like how this story plays out instead of keeping it so tightly wound and tightly knit. Could be interesting. So yeah, my true cinema moment. A1 Act. We talked about Emma Roberts. We're gonna do an A1 Act for her. I don't think we've seen any A24 movie with her in it. So I'm gonna blaze through some of these. I'm gonna slice through some of these. That's what I should have said. Wow.
Okay.
Step too slow. Blow. Drake and Josh. I wanted to put Drake and Josh on here because that's movie there. That show is fantastic. Aquamarine, Nancy Drew, Unfabulous, Valentine's Day. It's kind of a funny story. Scream 4. What's your take on Scream 4? Pro or against?
One of the best intros in the Scream movie. I love it.
Elite intro. Really got me. Literally, the first time I saw it, I was duped twice.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what was going on. It worked so well. Celeste and Jess Forever, We're the Millers, Adult World, The Blackcoat's Daughter, Nerve, Scream Queens, like we mentioned, Drake, Nice for What? Music video. Thought that was a little interesting nugget in her filmography there. The Hunt, Holiday, About Fate, American Horror Story, of course, which she has been, I believe, in every single season, and including the new one that's airing right now. And then Madam Web, upcoming. She's going to be in that film.
Yeah.
What's your Emma Roberts A1 Act?
I mean, we mentioned Scream 4 already, so I'm going to go with We're the Millers. I think that's a really kind of underrated comedy, super funny. Her character is like one of the least likable out of the family, but she still is great in it. So that's what I'm going to go with. And it led us to the meme of no regrets, which is just wonderful.
Huge win for as society, honestly, as a whole. I'm actually going to go with American Horror Story. So I like American Horror Story. I'm not an avid fan. I'm not watching the new season, but I did go on a tear for a while where like I blew through like probably the first 4 or 5 seasons, I think. And then I got a little burnt out and I thought it would turn into a little bit of a weak show. But I think the second season is called American Horror Story Coven. If I'm pulling that from the dark webs of my brain correctly.
I like it.
And from what I remember, I was like, this is a good show. Emma Roberts is good. I like her in horror things. And she's part of a coven. And you know what? She's kind of a hot witch. So like I feel like everybody wins in that situation.
Win.
It's a win. And that's when American Horror Story was like actually really good. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Second A1 Act, we wanted to do movies set in a school because of course this does happen in a school.
Yeah.
This is not hard and fast. Not every moment of the movie has to be in a school, but the school has to be a core setting of the film itself. So this is the list that I was able to come up with here. We've got The Blackcoat's Daughter, The 400 Blows, Armageddon Time, Boys, Bottoms. Have you seen Bottoms, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, me neither. I'm dying. I really want to see it.
Rachel Sennett. Let's go.
God, Rachel Sennett Hive. Let's rise. Child's Play, Cool School. A lot of these I added from Wikipedia just because they had the word school in them. I'm going to be quite frank with you because I couldn't leave them off the list. A Crime in School, of course. Doubt, The Elementary School, Freedom Riders, Good Burger, The Good Teacher, The Heartbreak Kid, Horror High, High School Musical, School of Rock, Matilda, Mr. Holland's Opus, Rushmore, Shazam, Teacher of the Year, and Whiplash. That's the list.
Nice.
What are you going with?
You know what?
Hit me with a surprise.
I'm giving you a top 3.
Oh, here we go. Big guns.
All off the list.
What? All 3 off the list?
All 3 off the list.
You're digging yourself a surprise hole. Well, now every week you have to come back bigger and better.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. as long as the categories are like this. Number 3, Bring It On.
Okay. I've heard good things.
Wonderful movie. Number 2, Mean Girls.
Oh, so how the fuck did I leave that off the list?
I don't know, but I'm glad you did. And my number 1, like, listen, my favorite movie of all time is Ferris Bueller, but I think more of that is focused on being outside of the school, so I'm not putting it in here.
Fair.
But what I am going to pick is one of my favorite rom-coms of all time, and that's 10 Things I Hate About You.
Good.
So that's what I'm going to go with as my number 1.
That's a really good list of 3. That's like, that list of 3 is better than this list of.
I don't know if that's true, but I couldn't pick just one, so I had to cheat.
That was good. That's good. I have a special place in my heart for School of Rock. Love School of Rock. That's just like, it's just like such an OG movie. And it's directed by Richard Linklater, which like is always such a fascinating fact to drop on somebody. It's just like, Linklater made School of Rock, and they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, pretty cool, huh? So that's always a good
weird, like, quotable moments from that movie. You know, like the little hand, like, let's rock today, or you're the bee's knees, or I'm not cool enough. Like, there's so many things that I still say just in my everyday life that are from this movie. So that's a perfect pick.
That is such a good movie. So, so School of Rock, I obviously want to give a shout out Whiplash. Like, I love Whiplash. I'm of the Damien Chazelle hive over here. And then I also wanted to briefly mention, to see if I unlock any childhood memories for anybody, this movie called Max Keebler's Big Move. Did you ever see this movie?
I did not.
Max Keeble's Big Move, I think is what it's called.
I don't even know what Drake and Josh is, so I have no idea what.
You don't
Max
know
Keeble
what Drake and Josh is?
No.
Oh, Ben. Oh, this might be the end of the pod. We might be at the final episode.
I will watch an episode of that if you watch Bring It On, because you need to see that movie.
Okay, that's fair. That's pretty good. I mean, I grew up on Drake and Josh. Max Keeble's Big Move. Yeah, it's this kid who basically tries to like get out of going to school. It's a Disney movie. It was like an original thing. And
hey, Larry Miller though from 10 Things I Hate About You.
There we go. There's our crossover. So
tie it all together.
Excellent film. Speaking of Drake and Josh Peck is in this movie. Speaking of Josh Peck, he was in fucking Oppenheimer. Let's
white
go.
Guy.
We did it. Middle-aged white guy for the win. He's in that movie for like 35 seconds and doesn't push the button. Okay. A24 ranking for the Blackcoat's daughter. What, for reference, real fast, do you remember what you gave The Witch?
I can't imagine it wasn't an F. I don't, like, maybe a D-. I have no idea. Do you remember?
No, I would assume I assumed it was an F.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are you going to give the Blackcoat's daughter?
I'm going to vamp and try to look it up and see, but
you're going to figure, okay.
The Witch, yeah. Ben coming in with an F24.
I literally don't know if I've ever given an F24 on this pod.
I don't know that you have.
We are very spotty on keeping track of our ratings. Let's just be transparent with the listeners.
100%.
We'll remember to do it for like a streak of 3 or 4 episodes and then miss it for like 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. The lowest I see that you gave was the Idol episode 1. You gave it F24. Oh no, wait.
That's fair.
You gave
accurate.
the Idol the whole season. You gave it an F24.
Yeah, okay. That's accurate. 100%. Yeah. I stand by that take. That's a good take. That movie is, or that show is horseshit.
Do you remember what you gave The Witch?
I don't know. Probably a D+ or C-.
Nailed it. D+. You nailed it.
I think that's a little low. Let's be honest. I think we're going to do The Witch Revisited.
I'm excited for you and whoever wants to come on to talk about that with you, because it's not going to be me. Yeah, it's an F24. If this was more boring to me than The Witch and I gave The Witch an F, like, I can't in good conscience give this even a D-. So this is just an F24 for me. Just
plain and simple. That's clean as you like.
That's all there is to it.
Okay. I can't fault that. Yeah, I'm going to go with, God, well, see, this is a bad position I'm in now, because like I started the pod and I was like, yeah, could be good. Like if you're trying to fill 90 minutes of horror, like this is something interesting. And then we started breaking it down. And I think I like some of the moments more than I like the whole cohesive piece. C-24 for me. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's like actively bad. I don't think it's great either. I don't think it's in like of course, not the conversation for like A24 horror. I think there's a reason it's a deep cut, that there's a reason it's kind of left off of these lists. It has really cool ideas. The cohesive picture does not come together, I don't think. And I think there's just kind of some missteps narratively that just don't work. But I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Okay. I have a question for you. Would you, maybe it's like the religious undertones. I don't know why I'm like comparing these two movies, not comparing them, but like they seem similar to some extent. Would you recommend this movie or Saint Maud?
Saint Maud, yeah. So I did get a lot of big Saint Maud vibes in this movie for sure. It's been a while since I've seen Saint Maud, but what I will say is that Saint Maud, the final 5 minutes, are pretty fucking seared into my brain. Like I know exactly what that final 60 seconds holds, and it's really good. It's really like it almost makes the payoff of watching the movie worth it. So I would probably suggest Saint Maud just for that aspect. I think it's much more memorable, and I think it is much more cohesive in like the story and the religious undertones and what it is saying or trying to tell than Blackcoat's Daughter. So yeah, probably Saint Maud.
And that tracks with your ranking because you gave Saint Maud a C24 and you gave this a C minus. So that totally tracks. Fair. I was just, as I was watching this, I was like, those are like the two closest things to me. Like, I would definitely recommend Saint Maud to somebody over this. And I was just kind of curious, what your take was on it. Yeah,
I agree for sure. Next week on the pod, ready for more dicks? Because they're coming on the pod. We're talking about Dicks the Musical. Brand new guest is going to be joining me to talk about A24's first ever musical. Well, you probably just cry yourself to sleep every night because Utah doesn't have screenings yet.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know what else to say.
I don't either, man. Like, I have no idea what's going on with this state, but hopefully someday we'll get it. I'll just have to watch a Scorsese movie or something.
In the meantime, yeah, it'll be fun. A new guest for sure, and I've heard really good things about Dicks the Musical, and I'm honestly pretty excited. So yeah, it should go well. I'm going to a screening that's like technically a preview screening, I guess, before it goes like national. So I have a ticket. It's based on a first come first serve kind of like basis. So of course I naturally get very nervous in those situations. It says check-ins at 6:30. What's your take? How early do I arrive? Because I have an idea in my head, but I'm curious what you would say.
I mean, I like 6:15. I don't know. Like
oh no, terrible take.
What do you mean? Like too late?
Way too late. You got to get there like 5:45 at the latest.
How many seats does this hold? Do you really think like 200 people are going to see Dicks the Musical?
No. Super small theater. Really, I should have clarified. Really small local theater. Probably. It's like the last time I went, I saw Decision to Leave there, and the theater was probably 50 seats. Like if 50.
Okay, yeah. Then definitely got to get there a little bit earlier than that. Yeah, I was thinking like just a basic, Cinemark or Regal.
No. We're talking about small, like maximum of like 80 chairs probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking like 5:45.
I think it's a good call.
I feel like it's good. I don't want to let the pod down. I gotta put in the work. I gotta get there.
It's true. Only one of us can let the pod down, and that's me. So
unlike you, letting the pod down all the time.
You gotta hold us up. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm excited to listen to it after I see the movie. I think it's gonna be fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you guys thought about Blackcoat's Daughter. Again, if you understand this movie, please feel free to slide into our DMs and explain it to me. I would
tell us why we're stupid.
More. Yeah, let me know what I missed. If you recommended this movie, I apologize for my take on it, but I appreciate you recommending it genuinely.
The real dick of the pod right there, Ben.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, you can hit us up. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can watch our beautiful faces as we talk about this stuff. You can see me try to hide my yawns as I just get more and more tired. And also we're on Patreon, where we cover stuff that is not A24 related. Mm-hmm. We kicked it all off with Mission Impossible back in the day, and we are starting a super fun series right now.
Really good.
We're leading up to David Fincher's new film, The Killer, by watching 5 of his other, I would call them all classics.
Yes.
And we kicked it off with The Game, which is just such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, watch The Game.
Good. The Game is a 5-star film. Let me just put that take out into the universe. I'm claiming it. I'm doing it. The Game is a 5-star film.
Which, if I remember correctly, that means it's your 50th 5-star. Because I think you said you had 49 on the list.
That's correct. It is my 50th 5-star film of all time. And I feel really good about that take. I will stand by that till my dying days, till Satan takes me over.
I like that I said if my math is correct. What I meant to say if my memory serves right, but it's like my
What
math
is
would be what's 49 plus
1?
1? That's like I think that might be your 50th if my math serves.
Turns out we are dumb. Actually, we are stupid.
that's gonna play like that social network scene. Like, oh, let me do the math on that real quick. Like, oh yeah, it checks out. But we will be covering the social network. So if you want to hear us talk about that, you can support us for a measly $4 a month over on Patreon. But we will love your support, but we also just appreciate you guys listening to these episodes. So feel free to check us out there if you want. Thanks again for listening. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.